Hey, before we start the episode, this is just a reminder this episode does take place before we had changed to a strictly interview format, and as such, there may be references to the other episodes we used to do that don't have anything to do with that. You can disregard that and just enjoy the episode.
The Graphic Histories Podcast.
I got bitten by a radioactive bug. I tried an experimental drug. Went up for a stroll on a gamma testing ring. I found an enchanted hurricane. I made a serum that made me small. I modified the serum so it would make me tall. Radioactive isotope in my eyes. Dying alien help me accessorize. I gained the proportion and strength of a spider. Now I'm invincible and I can fly. I lost my sight, my other senses were heightened. I'm gonna put on my pajamas and go fight crime.
Hey, welcome back to the Graphic Histories Podcast. My name is Andre Mayette, and I'm your host once again. And welcome, gentle listener. And I hope you are gentle. Please, be gentle. To my show, my name is Andre Mayette. I think I mentioned that earlier, but I will mention it again because, hey, who doesn't love a shameless plug? Or two, or three, or four. How's your week been? How are you? I expect you to answer in real time, so if I'm asking these questions, wherever you are, I hope that as I ask them, you're answering out loud. If not for me, since I can't hear, then for your own edification. Maybe it'll make you feel better. Maybe if you're lonely, it'll make you feel you're talking to another human, which in a way you kinda are. But I just want you to know that I am interested. I want to know, how are you? I mean, really, how's it going? How's the kids, the wife, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the mom, the dad, the brother, the sister, whoever in your life you might be worried about? How are they? Good. I hope it's got better. But this episode of the Graphic Histories Podcast is one of our featured interview editions. This time we'll be talking to Peter Breau, who is a independent writer. Writer predominantly in independent comics, and I learned a hell of a lot while talking to him. A hell of a lot. He is a very interesting guy and a hustler for sure. Like when he got in touch with me about being on this, he was like, "I'd like to be in your show," and I said, "Cool, love to have you on it. I got another guy ahead of you, and it's only every month that I do one of these." So, and then he checked and he called back or messaged back and kept messaging. So he, towards the end of the interview, we talked about how much of a hustler he is and how in the independent comics market, you really need to be that kind of a person to get the word out, to get your comic out, your product out, to get attention and to get the work. And he truly is that. An interesting guy. I learned quite a bit about a lot of names in the independent comic community and a lot of publishing houses and a lot of comics coming out and a lot of stuff I didn't know a lot about. So I was pretty excited to learn about all of that. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But before that, we've heard some very sad news this past week. The passing of Chadwick Boseman, the actor who played, among other things, Jackie Robinson. He's in 21 Bridges. There's 12 Bridges. Whatever. And some of those other films. Mainly known for his role in The Black Panther, as he played T'Challa, the title character in Civil War, Black Panther, Infinity War, and Endgame. And man, oh man, what a loss! What a tragic loss. The man was 43, like barely 8 years older than me, barely just getting started really in Hollywood. He kind of got a late bloomer when it came to getting into some major movies. A friend of mine who I'd hope to have on the show someday, Nick Bradshaw, posted a picture of him on the show Fringe, which I didn't even remember him being on because it's been so long since I watched that show. But I was a huge fan of that as well. But he lost a battle with colon cancer, which is even more astounding is that when he was filming a lot of these movies, The Five Bloods, the last film he did, I believe, with Spike Lee, and the Avengers movies, he was battling this. I think he got diagnosed when he was when he was filming Black Panther. So it's amazing what he did, and knowing that he had a pretty rough diagnosis and that the end was looking a bit bleak. Kept it under wraps, didn't draw attention to himself, still did all these Make-A-Wish Foundation things where he visited children, still kept his commitments to Marvel Comics and to the fans. It was just a generally amazing human being, top to bottom. So, truly sad and tragic news. That, one thing I want to talk about, I don't like to get too controversial on this show, is there, in the world, I found lately in my personal life and maybe in the rest of the world, there's this sort of, when something bad happens, almost the very first thing most people do is say, how does this affect me? I mean, oh, this sucks. I love the Black Panther movies. I'm not getting another Black Panther movie like the last one because the stars is gone. So, oh, this sucks. I hope they should recast him. They should recast him with this person. They should recast him with this other person. They should make Shuri the new Black Panther his sister and not recast him. They should do this. They should do that. The man just died this week. So this is not the time for that. Nor should it ever really be. I mean, the studios and the people that are involved with that are the ones who figure out what comes next. But we don't need to get into debates and arguments about who's going to replace the man when he's probably not even in the ground yet. I mean, literally, just wait, all right? You don't need to make this about you. It doesn't matter how this affects you. He had a family, he had life, he had kids, wife, mothers, brothers, whoever. He has a family that's in mourning right now. And the whole nerd community is in mourning for loss of a really cool guy, great actor, and a great role that he played. So let's not make this about you and how this affects you and how you're afraid about what it's going to mean for the Marvel Universe to come. None of that matters right now. Just let the man and his family, let them deal through the stuff they have to deal with. And let's not make it about you. Okay? Great. So, without much further ado, let's get to today's episode. This is Peter Breau, independent writer with Second Sight Publishing and a lot of other companies, which he will name throughout the interview. And I hope you enjoy.
Oh, could be. Maybe I just had it.
Hey, no worries.
Down on the taskbar or something, right?
No worries. Yeah, this new sort of Zoom reality that we're all living in is kind of a real learning experience for a lot of us, I think.
Yeah.
Myself especially, with social distance hangouts kind of before we were allowed to see people in person again. It was kind of become a wizard at it, I guess, but as much as you can. So how are you?
Good.
Yeah. Excellent. And how is this sort of new COVID reality been working in for you?
Well, actually, I'm a nurse by day, so it's been interesting, but we're quite well prepared for it, eh?
Yeah. Are you in a nurse in a hospital or a private thing? Or?
I work for CBI Health.
Okay.
And I used to work for the regional hospital here in St. John for quite a few years. Then I moved on to more contract nursing.
Okay.
So
it's like a private. You go into people's homes and care for them.
No. I work for social development.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what does the day-to-day life of that look like?
It's different. I just finished. I went to work yesterday at 4:00 and I worked until 8:00 this morning. So wow. I just finished. I did a 16-hour shift.
Wow.
So I do, but I do 2 of them a week,
mm-hmm.
and then I get the rest of the time off. Now, when I worked at the regional hospital, it was 4 on, 5 off. You do 4 12s, and then you get 5 off. So this way, I do 2 12s, and I get 3 off, and then I do 2 more 12s, and then I get 4 off.
Wow. That actually seems like
something like that.
Yeah, like a schedule that would work well, especially for someone into writing, like yourself. Gives you a little more time to kind of pursue those creative routes when you're not working. So
I'm sleeping.
Yeah, sleeping. Imagine so. So you're in St. John, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And were you born there?
No, I was born in the Miramichi.
Oh, excellent. So
yeah,
New Brunswick through and through.
Yeah, moved to Woodstock when I was 6, stayed there till I was 19, and I did like everybody else in my generation. I went west and stayed there till I was like 25, and then I moved to Fredericton, and then I moved here, about 27 years ago.
So
with no expectation of ever staying here.
Really?
Yeah.
And now you're there.
Yeah, now I'm married with a house and, been working as a nurse for almost 20 years.
It's funny how life gets away from you like that, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, in Miramichi, where you grew up, what did your folks do?
I was raised by my grandparents actually, and they're military.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my grandfather he was stationed at CFB Chatham.
Oh, excellent. So you
Yeah,
didn't
and
have to
then
move around much because of that, or is it pretty?
well, no, we went to Woodstock because he retired from the military, and then he went to work for the Canada Customs for the Woodstock Holton border.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. So he must have a very interesting gig doing that.
Oh yeah.
I guess most people will in our area, Nova Scotia or in Eastern Canada, know Woodstock as sort of your entry point into the United States.
Yeah.
For those who are listening and don't know the area, so anybody who travels to the States, usually through Maine from this area, always goes through Woodstock. So you encounter all kinds of interesting stuff there. Did he have lots of any strange encounters or different stories?
Oh, all kinds of stories, and all kinds of stories about like hockey players and other sports players and stuff that would come through, and they would give like signed sticks and signed like stuff to the border guards. Right now, this is back in the 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And stuff like that.
Yeah,
Not
grease
not now.
to make it easy.
He's passed away, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Oh, still very cool. So, may I ask why you were raised by your grandparents? Were your parents not in the picture? Or?
What's that?
May I ask why you were raised by your grandparents? Like, were your folks not around? Or?
No. My mother wasn't in the picture, and neither was my father. So me and my twin brother and my other brother were raised by my grandmother.
Oh, fantastic! And I'm sure you had a great childhood.
Oh, it was a fantastic childhood.
Yeah,
couldn't be better.
Is your grandmother still around, or is she gone?
Oh yeah, 92 this year.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
It's amazing how they hold on. My grandmother's still going too. She's 93, I think. So yeah, we're having something for her birthday coming up, which is amazing. So I hope those genetics filter
She's
down.
92, stands about 4'4", and like last summer I went up to Woodstock and this was just coincidence. I went up there,
mm-hmm.
and some cousins of mine were visiting. They were her nieces, so I don't know how really they'd be related to me,
mm-hmm.
but she has outlived all of her brothers and sisters. So these are some of her nieces. Of I think 3 of her sisters, each one of their nieces came to see her.
Oh wow!
And she was on oxygen for a while before that. And when I went up to visit, I said, "Mom, where's your oxygen?" And she said, "Oxygen? That's for old ladies." "I'm not an old lady," she said. And then she ran around that house cooking for everybody that was there. Now, her daughter showed up too. My Uncle Rick and my Aunt Lynn showed up from Montreal. And she's making great big pots of soup. And like, you go to get up to get something. No, you sit down. That's my kitchen. My kitchen. Like I said, like 4 feet 4 and French, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sounds like still a giant in her own way.
Oh yeah, well that's what keeps her alive, right?
Yeah. That's fantastic. That's sort of like an old world sort of mentality of the not to make it gender specific with women and men or whatever, but just sort of that old world. This is my home. Like I'm looking after you. You come here. I'll take care of everything. You just enjoy the experience of hanging out with me, and it's very comforting. Like my family is kind of old school as well a little bit, and I definitely have some of that kind of filter through when I go home to visit as well. And it's sort of a nice comforting feeling to still get to go into those environments even as an adult.
So where's home?
Oh, for me, Nova Scotia. I live in Truro, but I'm from Antigonish County originally, so just outside of Antigonish. So
yeah,
super rural.
I have a friend that just moved to that area.
Oh yeah, who's that?
Brenda Manning. I knew her as Brenda Tompkins. When I went to school with her, she was Brenda Tompkins.
She's in Truro?
She's somewheres in that area. She told me a while back, and I forgot, right?
There's quite a few smaller communities in the area. So,
but how close are you to Shag Harbor?
Shag Harbor. Oh,
Shag Harbor for the UFO crash.
Yes, I was going to say the UFO crash. That's outside of Halifax, I believe, isn't it, or somewhere near that area?
I'm not sure. I've never been there. Want to be?
Yeah.
I'm working on something right now that involves Shag Harbor.
Oh,
Shag
really?
Harbor and Oak Island. and ancient Egyptians and Vikings and pirates and kind of everything's all kind of tied in, and it takes place in Halifax.
Oh, fantastic! So is this is it like sort of a supernatural of the Maritimes kind of thing? I mean, I
Well,
guess
it's based on a character that I created for Indie Wars, the thing that Ben Dunn, the from the Ninja, not Ninja Warrior, sorry, he did the Warrior Nun, like for Netflix. Ben Dunn
really?
for Antarctic Press.
Yes.
Yeah. So I
Very
just did a
popular
project with him just recently called Indie Wars, and it's like like Marvel had their Secret Wars. Well, Antarctic Press has their Indie Wars, and what the original plan was, it was like a stimulus thing for COVID to help comic book shops and stuff. So Ben's plan was to get all these different independent creators to, like, as long as the Ninja High School kids were in each story, each universe was different, right? So the universe that Adam Fields and I had involved the Ghost from that was in Exciting Comics with Antarctic Press, and we had Lady Claw, and we had Constantine Lazar, and these are characters that were like, they helped the Ninja High School kids defeat DK, and DK is this like presence that's going around to all these different realities, all these different indie verses. So you'd have like different indie comic creators would use their IPs with Ben's IPs and create a comic, like an amalgam. You know what I mean? Like how remember Marvel and DC kind of did their thing where they had like crossovers. Well, this is a
comics,
crossover. Yeah, this is a crossover event too. Yeah,
that is a really cool idea. Like that, I was skimming through some of your stuff before we had our meeting, because the previous people I've had in the show, which is, I'm really excited to have an interview with someone that I don't know personally already, because like the other previous people I've met before and had conversations with, but that's a really cool idea, like to take the indie comic creators and sort of give them a platform to have other people be exposed to their products. Perhaps if you're a fan of Ninja High School, you'll tune into these other comics and get exposed to all other people's indie stuff. That's a great kind of grassroots idea. I'm really glad to hear that. That sounds like a super cool thing.
Yeah, it's 144 pages. We launched a Kickstarter campaign back about a little over a month ago, and it raised over $10,000 Canadian. So over 8,000 American.
That's amazing. Fantastic. Yeah. Congratulations. So the Ninja High School property, is that the original one from like way back?
Yep.
Because I remember those comics when I was a kid. I used to have
It's Ben Dunn's.
Was he always in charge of that, or is that a recent thing for him?
No, I think he created.
Oh, fantastic! Okay,
the Ninja High School.
I'm unfamiliar with his connection to that, but I did used to have a few issues of that as a kid, so that's really cool that is still continuing on as well.
Like I can show you some. That's from. This is some of the art from the Constantine Bain 16-page story that Adam Fields and myself. Adam Fields is the artist, and I wrote it. I don't know how well you can see some of that, but
no, I can see it well. And I've looked up a few of the things online as well. I use some of the art in promoting for this as well. So that is super cool.
There's another page there.
That is amazing. So where did the writing start for you? Is this like a high school thing when you were a kid? What was the connection?
Interestingly enough, I was listening to CBC Radio one day, and they were talking about a contest called a character creation contest for the Fundy Fan Fest. And I'm listening to it, and they're interviewing Greg Grondin from Heroes Beacon and Matt Delano from Knuckle Down Studios and Josie from Knuckle Down Studios. And I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, I could do that. I can create a character, right? I can, and so you had to go and pitch your character to like, Knuckle Down Studios and Heroes Beacon. And what they were going to do was they were going to create St. John's first superhero for the Fundy Fan Fest in
I
2000,
remember this. Well,
Yeah.
what was the year?
2017.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Because I had a
And
friend
so,
that used to live in St. John. I think I don't know if you know him well, but I think you guys may have crossed paths. Kale Harding.
I know Cale
Yeah,
very well.
Kale's a good friend of mine. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
Cale's a PEI now.
he is. Yeah, actually, I think I'm
Yeah.
going to see him on Monday. He's passing
Yeah.
through Truro, so he's going to come
Yeah,
by.
he's a great guy.
Yeah,
I
no,
buy
he's been
comic
friends
books
for
from
years.
him.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I just got some from him as well. But anyway, sorry, continue. So this
Yeah,
was 2017.
So I said to myself, I could do this. So I go and pitch to, I go to the MBTEL building, go up there in the 6th floor and big boardroom and go in. I have no idea what I'm doing. Never written a character before, never even thought of doing it. Go in, pitch to these guys. I win the contest.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the pitch?
It was a character called the Beacon. Up there in the wall, back in the corner there.
Sure.
Right?
I'll post a picture. I'll look it up and post a picture of it.
And and basically the way it worked is that each person pitched a character, and these characters were put online, and then they were voted on by the public, and my character won. So that was my first experience with anything like this. So then I was asked to be on a panel at Fundy Fan Fest with Matt Delano and Joe C. and them from Knuckle Down, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even know what I'm doing, right? You know what I mean? And then, it just all kind of fell into place. Like I realized that I actually did kind of have a talent for it, that I really didn't know that I had,
So this wasn't something that you didn't start off writing like when you were younger. Just something that came to you later in life.
I read a lot of books, and I read a lot of comic books, but I never really wrote anything, and I never really, when we were kids, we'd go to Mactaquac Park, what I mean, go camping, and like this is pre-internet, so like my grandmother would, to entertain us, she a box of crayons and a bunch of paper, right? And we're always drawing stuff. I kind of always wanted, my twin brother and I always wanted to be artists and work for Marvel Comics and live in New York and do all that stuff, because we had no idea that this internet thing was going to even exist, right? And I couldn't draw a stick man if my life depended on it. So I did have a desire to always be in comics, but as an artist, never as a writer. The writing part never even crossed my mind, So then I joined a group here in St. John called the Fundy Comic Art Society, and they were doing a local fanzine, and it came from the public domain, and I wrote 2 stories for it. And this is it right here. I wrote 2 stories for it, and one of the stories I wrote was about Lord Greystoke, Tarzan of the Apes, coming to St. John during the building of the Reverse and Falls Bridge, because I did some research and I found out that in the Tarzan lore, Jane's father was an engineer. So it was kind of made sense for them to be there. And then there was a royal tour that was actually taking place during the building of the Reverse and Falls Bridge with like British royalty. I think soon to be George, I can't remember what his name was previous to when he took the name George V. But so in this story, this comic story, and Monique McNaughton drew it, and she did a fantastic job. In this story, Tarzan, the story revolves around a character called Piker. Okay, so it's told through the eyes of a St. Johner, and Tarzan's just kind of there, but he's more there as Lord Greystoke. And so the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate got wind of it. And so I thought I was going to get, I got an email from them, and I thought it was a cease and desist, right? Because they had, there had previously been some problems with Dynamite Comics because they had a Lord of the Jungle title, and like I think Edgar Rice Burroughs' estate was saying, "Wait a minute, that's just a little too close." You know what I mean? For comfort type thing. So I don't know if they settled out or whatever. But the thing is they send me this email, and it's like, "Hey, can we read it, right? We'd really like to see this. You know what I mean? Like, can we read a copy of it? Can we have a copy for our archives?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh my God, wow, that's really cool." Like, the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate actually wants to archive something that I wrote.
Really?
So then next thing you know, I got CBC morning show wanting to talk to me, and Shift wants to talk to me, and the newspapers want to talk to me, and then I thought, well, geez, maybe I actually can write.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's fantastic. So
maybe there's something here, right?
that's such a wonderful story to hear, especially about like something like of a character as popular as Tarzan, that his estate actually is cool with stuff like that. I mean, it is a public domain character, I believe, at this point, so anybody can kind of do anything with it.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting that instead of them trying to like flex muscles and intimidate, they're actually just interested to read anybody that's doing anything with, the character that their ancestor has created. So, I mean,
well, I was flattered that they actually wanted a copy.
That's really cool.
So I sent them 2 copies, and I did ask them if they would take a picture of the comic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In front of a statue of Tarzan, and they said they couldn't do it.
Oh, really?
No, because of copyright or something. Right?
Oh, I see.
They didn't want to say that, an open endorsement or something. Like, I can't remember exactly how it went, but
that's fair. I imagine they need to protect that. So
yeah,
but still, I mean, the fact that they went to that level is really cool.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Excellent. So, and then what branched off from that?
Well, I went on from there, and I don't know if you know Willie Reed or not.
No.
From around here?
Nope.
Well, Willie Reed is a local artist, and he asked me if I would like to help him do a comic book with Jimmy Hashie. And Jimmy Hashie's...
I know Jimmy.
Yeah,
I've met him several times, yeah.
Yeah, so and Jimmy had created this character called Starbolt, and he wanted an origin story, right? So he asked me if I'd write an origin story for him, so I said sure. So once again, I collaborated with Monique McNaughton, and we wrote Starbolt 1, and it got some pretty good reviews, so it kind of built up the whole momentum for me to think that, wait a minute here, maybe I can actually, go a little further with this, right? So then I entered a writing contest, like Bradley Golden. He's the publisher, CEO and publisher for Second Sight Publishing out of Mississippi. But before that, he was like a writer for Antarctic Press. He wrote horror comics, Leave on the Lights, These Damn Kids, Sunny, Blackjack, like the just endless titles that Bradley had written. And he had a contest for his Mississippi Zombie comic. And he was looking for scripts, and he was taking the best scripts, and he would pair up the best scripts with an artist. So I wrote for this contest, and sent away a script, and didn't hear anything, and didn't hear anything, and didn't hear anything, and didn't hear anything. And then I contacted him, and I said, "What'd you think of that script?" And he said, "Well, it was different." And I thought, well, what is different good or is different bad? And he said, "No, I like different. You're hired." And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it, right? You know what I mean? And this was for Caliber Comics, right? You know what I mean? And so the Mississippi Zombie title here, I'll show you this one.
Oh yes, yep.
So yeah, so I started writing storyline for Mississippi Zombie, and Harrison Wood was out of Las Vegas was commissioned to be the artist, and it's kind of went on from there. And then I got like a job, I guess, if you want to call it, writing for Antarctic Press. I started writing. I'm this once again, Bradley Golden. Bradley called me up, and when Bradley Golden calls you up and asks you to do something, you jump on the chance, right? Because everything he touches turns to gold, basically, right? The guy's a fantastic writer, great creator, right? You know what I mean? Started his own comic book company that I am currently working for,
Mm-hmm.
and so he asked me if I would collaborate with him on Ghost for Exciting Comics. So we wrote for Exciting Comics with Antarctic Press, and then I just kind of verged off on my own, right? So with the Indie Wars stuff, and with I've written some stuff for small indie press people like Lucky Comics. I've written like the Beetle Girl stuff, and the Unknown Tales, and I'm currently doing a few other titles with them. I'm writing a Green Giant title that's going to be an ongoing series with Lucky Comics, and I just got asked to write another title for Lucky Comics. I'm currently in collaborating with Alessio Nocerino out of Rome, and we're doing a sci-fi series for Planet Comics for Antarctic Press. And I'm working on another comic, this one here, with another one with Bradley, These Damn Kids.
It's a great title.
This comic series, we just signed a 4-movie deal with Spirit Rider Productions and director Brian Vaughn to option these comics to be featured films.
The These Damn Kid comics?
These Damn Kids is the third in the series. The first in the series is going to be Leave on the Lights.
Okay.
And then it's going to be...
Also, there's separate horror titles they're doing singular issues.
Then it's going to be Cold Blooded, and then it's going to be These Damn Kids, and then it's going to be Sunny.
It's fantastic. So what is that's amazing. So to sign on to a property like that is, especially having such a fairly early or late, I guess, in life, but also early run in your career. I mean, 2017 wasn't that long ago. So we just in after 3 years is astounding.
Yeah, we just signed contracts. I signed mine back in April.
So do you have ownership of these because the writing?
I'm co-writer credit. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what is the first movie you mentioned? Which one was that one?
That's Leave on the Lights.
So what is the premise of that?
That's it involves I'm not a co-writer on Leave on the Lights.
Okay.
That's Bradley, and it's about a serial killer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Right on. And so These Damn Kids, is that the one that you were the co-writing credit on?
Yeah. I'm a co-writer on These Damn Kids, and
so
it is a prequel to Leave on the Lights. It involves the same detective from Leave on the Lights, but in a younger version. It's basically his coming of age, basically, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's his first encounters with the supernatural.
So is that character in a through line of all the films?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Very cool.
Yeah.
So is this is the private film company that will be doing this?
Yeah, Spirit Rider Productions.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And where will that be filmed at?
I'm assuming Spirit Rider Productions is out of Australia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Brian Vaughn is an award-winning director out of Australia.
Oh.
And so I'm making the assumption that it's going to be done in Australia.
Australia actually has a really interesting film industry that not a lot of people realize, but they make some pretty cool stuff. There's been some great films that have come out of that area, and a lot of great actors too. But that's really, really cool, and really neat to have that connection to our area with that.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that you read a lot when you were younger, what were the books that sort of influenced you?
Oh, I read a lot of Conan the Barbarian stuff.
Ah,
You know,
okay.
I read the same things that most people read, like, you know, I read Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. But, you know, one of the my probably you know, guilty vices is I read a lot of that ancient astronaut stuff.
Oh, really?
Like, I remember when I was like, I think I was, it was 1976 or something, because I still got the books. Friend of mine, John Ross,
Huh?
he's he actually he's a doctor at Harvard now,
Mm-hmm.
but he bought me a copy of Chariots of the Gods
Mm-hmm.
and Gods from Outer Space by Eric von Daniken when I was like back in, I think, grade 5 or something, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
he was reading this stuff, right? And you know, of course, the guy, you know, goes on to McGill, and then, you know, now he's an assistant professor at Harvard and all that, right? So, you know, I invite him to my birthday party when I'm, you know, like I think I was 8 or 9, and like he gives me these books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the von Daniken stuff, and you know, it was a pretty heavy read for a kid, right?
Yeah.
But
Heavy read for an adult.
I kind of, you know, that was my guilty pleasure, was reading those books and UFO stuff and the Bigfoot stuff and all that. And I kind of got away from that for the longest, but I've been going down the rabbit hole lately.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, like
I
ever
find that
since,
you go
you
ahead.
know, no, ever since the Pentagon announced that they found, like, they've got objects from out of this world, right, that they're examining and stuff, right? So, like, I've been hooked back into it. I went out and bought some Graham Hancock stuff, and you know, I was researching a comic series that I'm going to do for Jungle Comics that involves the younger Dryas comet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like back, they believe 12,000 years ago, a comet smashed into the Earth, and that's what ended the Ice Age.
Okay.
Well, I'm writing a comic book based on that premise. You know, so I went out and got that Magician of the Gods book by Graham Hancock.
Uh-huh.
And so I've been deep with that stuff. And I got a whole pile of these UFO books, and I got most of Von Daniken's books, and they're just sitting around gathering dust. But just lately, I've been digging them all back out, looking at them.
So
That's
as
why
have you always? Oh no, have you always been sort of fascinated, like, with the cryptozoology and aliens and that sort of conspiracy stuff? I found when I was when I was a kid, I was sort of the same way. Like, when I was young, I read everything I could. I get magazines. I remember I used to like get magazines about the Majestic 12 and all the secret alien conspiracies, and I used to really like eat that stuff up. And then as I got older, I sort of faded out, realizing it's all probably not real. I mean, I've all that sort of stuff. Aliens is the one that I always sort of held on to, and because I think it's sort of what's the word, like,
believable. Yeah,
it is.
Possible,
and it's sort of and to think that in all of creation or all of the universe, that we are the only thing that's capable of you know, the thought and intelligent design that we are. To think that it's just humans, and you know, nature perfected it and they never did anything else, and it seems really pretentious to me. Like, as a species, we're not perfect, and I don't think there may be other ones out there that are. Who knows? But I think if you look into the night sky and look at all the stars and the planets that are out there that we don't know about, it seems insane to think that not one of them has life on it. Maybe not human-like life, but life in some manner. They could be close to us, could not be. Whether they get on spaceships and come to Earth, I guess, is a different story. But with the recent releases from the Pentagon, it seems like there may be evidence of that. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting. It certainly opens up a whole world of imagination. I know aliens is not a unique thing in fiction. It's certainly used a lot, but it's still always fun and interesting to see it done in a different and unique way.
The amazing thing is nobody seemed to care.
Yeah, I think at the time, I know it was almost, I wonder as to why they, like, I'm not really a conspiracy theorist at all, but it just seems interesting that they released it when they did. I think it's because there was a timeline for the Freedom of Information Act that they had to release it.
Yeah, it could be.
After so many decades. But yeah, I mean, in the middle of COVID-19 and whatever the hell's going on in the States right now, it seems like it was certainly not the biggest news story, considering how groundbreaking it is for fans of science fiction and supernatural and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, like, I don't know. I was a card carrying skeptic for a long time. Like, like I just, anyone I know, and just recently something rekindled today. I think it was I listened to a Joe Rogan podcast, and he was interviewing that David Fravor, the guy that's seen the Tic Tac UFO.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, wait a minute here. This is, this guy's not nuts, right?
Mm.
You know what I mean? He's a, he's a commander of a squadron, like they don't just let anyone fly those planes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he sees something like, and it sees him. Like he says, like, hey, this thing noticed me. And
Mm-hmm.
he's got no dog in the hunt, right? He's not selling books. He's not doing speaking tours. He didn't actually even tell anybody about it for the longest time. So the credibility is there, and it's like, oh, okay, and plus, Amazon started replaying all the X-Files. So I started.
It's on Amazon Prime, is it?
Yeah, I started rewatching them, and I'm like, oh, here we go, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's certainly, especially if you're a creative type or a writer of any kind, it certainly unlocks a lot of things in the imagination that can take you into some interesting places. As a kid, I remember watching, was it Fire in the Sky? That was the big movie that came out like in the early 90s.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, mid 90s maybe. It was supposed to kind of be about this guy's, true story about what happened to him when he was abducted by aliens. And I remember it was pretty intense. And it sort of stuck with me as a kid a lot about how, disconcerting. And I was a big fan of Unsolved Mysteries. And when I was young, and I used to watch that show constantly. In fact, the new season on Netflix actually does a whole thing on one episode, at least on an alien abduction, which is interesting because, yeah, like a lot of these stories, it's not people. It's not like it's people that are seeking attention. Sometimes when you see those and the people that are like talking about it, they seem, they haven't really discussed it much because they know that people are going to look down on them or judge them or call them crazy if they tell their story. But it is sort of suspicious in that it's always usually some nobody somewhere. Like you never see it, like, and probably because anybody that maybe have some connection that's famous doesn't want this sort of stigma, so won't talk about it.
Yeah, they don't want to bet their reputation on it, right?
Yeah,
but maybe not so much now, right? Like like
not.
with this whole disclosure in New York Times and stuff, like like I was expecting something more than just, it was in the news cycle for 2 days and then it was gone, right?
Yeah.
And nobody even seemed to, I mentioned it to my wife. I said, the Pentagon has just admitted, right? And it's like, nothing, right? Didn't even phase her, right?
I think part of it may be that we all assume that
we
the
get too
government
much information every day, right?
Yeah, and that we all like, even when it's something that most of us kind of assume is probably a reality, when you spend years and years and years, unless you're like really honed in on it, like to follow that thing, waiting for some information that can validate your opinion. But just like your whole life, you just assume, well, the government knows stuff we don't, and they're probably sitting on a bunch of information that, so when they're like, oh yeah, the government is sitting on a bunch of information and they do know stuff we don't know. It's like, oh, okay. Like, it's like, yeah, well, we assumed it for the whole time. So It's not quite as earth-shattering. If they're like, we have an alien, here he is, then yeah, I think that would cause a stir. But if they're just like, yeah, we found some stuff and we're looking into it, but who knows? They didn't admit they have a spaceship or anything to that effect, right?
No, I think it was just what they said was just, extraterrestrial objects. Now that could be anything, right?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I mean, it's still interesting, and I'd be excited to learn more, and hopefully that will come out later.
But the weird thing is that I'm watching this podcast with George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, and they're talking about this, and they're saying, hey, like, and this is another Joe Rogan podcast, and this is after the Commander Fravor one, and they're talking about how, there's going to be more stuff coming out. There's going to be like 2020 is going to be this year for disclosure and all that. And they were right. So maybe they knew something that we didn't, or maybe they just got lucky.
Well, regardless, it's super interesting, and I mean, every area seems to have their alien story. So it's interesting you're working on something for about the Shag Harbor ones.
Yeah, Shag Harbor. Yeah,
that's Nova Scotia's sort of one. You know, we all, you know, every place has their own, like British Columbia has their own weird sea monster, and each one of them have their own kind of little thing. So it's neat that, you know, our area kind of has something. You know, we're not Bigfoot, but we got a alien. Well, I mean, those who are listening and aren't familiar with it, it's the UFO that crashed into Shag Harbor, right? Is
yeah,
this,
67.
yeah. So
Yeah,
there were witnesses that say they
1967.
watched an circular object full of lights kind of crash into the harbor.
And I think they promote it as the only official government documented UFO crash.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the government will admit that something happened there, or at least that there's enough witness accounts that something crashed there.
Yeah.
But they've never found
at least
anything.
that's what I remember from it. I had a couple of books about it that I'd lent out to a friend at work, and I like that was one of the ways I think they promoted it. But they do have a festival every year too. They have the Shag Harbor UFO Festival. It's canceled this year.
Yes,
but it's coming back in 2021, right?
I remember I had a discussion with Jason Eisner. He's the director of Hobo with a Shotgun. He works in that show, Dark Side of the Ring on Vice, about wrestling.
Oh,
he's from Nova Scotia, and he one time he's shooting a commercial that I was in. I do a bit of acting, and he was talking about it. I was asking what kind of project he's working on. He mentioned that's one, like a movie based on Shag Harbor or something, was something he'd like to do. I mean, that was years and years ago, and I haven't seen anything, so I don't know if it's still in the cards for him or not, but it'd be really cool if it did happen.
Yeah, well, the comic book I'm going to do is going to be a 6-part comic book.
Oh, okay. So I mean,
yeah, and available everywhere.
Very cool.
You know, everywhere they sell comics, right? You know, it probably won't be out until, you know, I can't tell you much more than that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, you know, it probably won't be out until next summer. But you know, it's all plotted out, and all of the pages are broken down, and we know who the artist is, and you know, the publisher and all that stuff. So it's just a matter of me. Like, I've got all kinds of different pokers in the fire, right? So, you know, like I said, I got the project for Planet Comics with Alessio, and then I've got these damn kids that, you know, this one here is coming out, you know, around Christmas time, right? You know, and this is a 3-parter, so, you know, and stuff like that. And I just finished the Indie Wars. And
do you find it hard to juggle a schedule of the kind of writing for all these various projects on top of your job? And you mentioned you were married.
Yeah.
Do you have children as
well, I'm very fortunate because my wife's very supportive with it, right? It's more of a hobby for me than anything else. Like, to be truthful, if this was my only source of income, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, like I'm a nurse first, and I'm a comic book writer second. So this is more of a hobby for me.
Yeah.
So because it's a hobby, and you know, I'm having fun with it, that it's not really like, you know, I'm, you know, yes, I have deadlines, but it's not like you know, something that stresses me out either, right? You know what I mean? So
where'd you meet your wife at?
Oh, I met her here in St. John.
No, fantastic. Through work or just life?
No, we met through a mutual friend.
Oh, wonderful.
And we ended up buying the house that she grew up in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A lot of memories for her there. That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys have kids?
Yeah, 2, a 22-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Oh, so how long have you been married for?
23 years on the 6th of September.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, we've been together for 25 years this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, oh, it is amazing.
In today's climate, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm
My
blessed.
folks just celebrate their 41st anniversary today, I believe. It's today.
Wow.
So, it's funny. One time I spoke with somebody, I think it was at the gym, I was just talking to a random person or a girl or something way back in the day, and we were talking about her folks, and I said, yeah, my folks are, and she's like, your parents are still together? And I was like, yeah. She goes, oh, well, that's odd. It's like, in like the modern world, it seems like an odder to have people together that long in modern.
No, it is. Like when I was in, like, I'm dating myself here. I'm 55, right? And when I was in elementary school, like I told you before, I was raised by my grandmother, right? So, you know, like, and I have an identical twin brother. And so, like, when we went to school, we were the only kids in the class who didn't have a mother and father
Mhm.
that were the same mother and father.
Really?
Okay, we were the
Wow.
only kids in the class. Now I'm talking, this is like from say 1971 onward, right?
Mhm.
You know, and when my kids went to school at St. Pat's up here across the park, they were the only kids in the class who had the same two parents.
Really?
Yep.
Man, that's crazy.
What a change in the world, eh? Like to go from I'm the only kid in the class who doesn't have the same two biological parents because I'm raised by my grandmother, to having the only kids in the class that isn't a blended family, or that isn't like a separated single mother or single father,
Well,
or
maybe growing up in that situation sort of instilled something in you about the, how important those connections are to you
could
and
be.
could be.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I find it funny when I read, like, people often post these sort of older people on Facebook and stuff often post these sort of things that are like, I asked my grandmother why her and her, husband have been together for 50 years. And she said, well, when we were young, if something was broken, we fixed it. And it's like, I get that sentiment, but I also think maybe, 50, 60 years ago, the church played really heavily in people's lives. And it wasn't like
big time.
society looked down on you pretty hard if you were
Big time.
a single
Yeah.
parent, for like, unless you're a widow or something, but if you're just divorced, like, you weren't, society judged you pretty harshly. And so some people just stayed together because they didn't want to deal with that. And maybe they were in crappy relationships that didn't make them happy. Like, I'm happy that people are kind of doing their own thing, but I don't think it's as simple as just saying, oh yeah, we worked on relationships. Like, well, some people have some pretty shitty relationships, so.
Oh yeah, absolutely, eh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I heard a joke about that once from Chris Rock, but I can't remember it right now. I'd like to tell it
Oh.
about the divorce rate.
Oh yeah, it's over 50% now, I believe.
Yeah, well, he said something like that. He said it's the divorce rate is 50%, and the other 50% are too scared to get divorced.
Yeah,
something like that, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I wish I got it right.
That's all right. It's probably pretty accurate, actually.
It probably would have sounded a lot better.
Yeah. No, I'm married as well, and we've been together for just 4 years coming up. But we've been together
still.
Well, we've been together for 13. So
wow,
yeah,
okay,
we just got married later. So it was we lived together after dating for 3 months. So we've been together for pretty much married for the entire time.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's nice seeing that some people make those connections that stick. Hopefully, which is good. So and your kid, what does your kids do?
Well, Dante doesn't live here with us anymore. He lives with his aunt, and Jaden's still in school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. What's he? How old is Jaden?
He's 17 in December. So
great.
So he's in grade 11.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he's a big history buff. He's
nice.
Big World War I buff, right?
Really? What drew him to World War I specifically?
I'm not entirely sure, but him and I co-wrote a World War I horror comic that's coming out Halloween in an anthology called Harvest of Horror, and it's coming out from Second Sight Publishing, and it's coming out the Wednesday before Halloween. And we have a story called Not Feast, and it involves the same Piker character that was in the Tarzan story, who helped save Tarzan in St. John here, is now in like, the northern France, and Dracula is a mercenary.
Oh.
And the Germans have hired Count Dracula to be a mercenary, and I won't tell you much more than that. The comic comes out to all the stores in Halloween. And I gave him a co-writer's credit because he gave me a lot of help with the information about to give to Brian the artist on like how the uniforms should look, and like the gas masks, and he would say no, that's not how the helmet should be, like and like information on the fighting 26th, which was a New Brunswick regiment that actually fought over in northern France and was at Vimy Ridge and the Somme and stuff like this. And one of the characters is also my wife's father's grandfather,
Okay.
a great grandfather, Ernest Chapman, and he's one of the characters in the story too.
Oh, fantastic.
And on the opening page is I wish I had a copy to show you.
Mm-hmm.
Is a helmet with the dog tag and Ernest Chapman on the tag. It's an amazing story. You know what I mean? Like it's the ending. It has quite a twist in it.
Oh, cool.
I mean, yeah,
Well, I
and
look forward to checking it out around
there's
Halloween.
some historical characters that show up that are I can't give away much more than that, right?
Always leave them wanting more. I tell you.
That's going to be coming out from Second Sight Publishing in a title in an anthology called Harvest of Horror. Yeah. And it'll be coming out, like I said, the Wednesday before Halloween, whatever that happens to be.
Well, Jesus, sorry, go ahead.
I think Halloween is like a Saturday, so like the 28th or whatever, right?
Well, as far as indie comic writers go, I think you're one of the most prolific ones I've ever met, for sure. Sounds like you have a lot of projects coming, and
I also work for Second Sight Publishing. I'm their social media director too. So,
are you? Right on.
Yeah.
I do a bit of that sort of stuff in my normal life.
Yeah, there's a learning curve for me. Like I've never really done it before, but like I keep the Facebook page up to date. I send pressers off to Bleeding Cool and Newsarama and CBR and Go Collect and all these different comic book sites and stuff like that, and keep them up to date on what's coming up. And like with Second Sight, we're really moving like I don't know if you've heard of Cult of Dracula.
No.
By Rich Davis. He's somebody you should interview.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very interesting guy, and his Cult of Dracula comic book series, issue 1 comes out on the 23rd of September, and he's already Second Sight Publishing has already pre-sold 10,000 copies.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
I'd love to talk to him. It sounds like that'd be an amazing interview as well.
10,000 copies pre-sold before the comic book even hits the stores. We sold out the first printing.
Wow.
That's amazing. So like on September 23rd, we got 3 comic books coming out from Second Sight Publishing on September. We've got Spike Gerald's Lady Freedom. We have the Book of Lyaxia. And of course, Cult of Dracula 1. And then in November, we have a bunch more titles. And the Second Sight Publishing is an indie comic publisher. And our goal is to focus on indie creators and to deliver the best possible comic books we can deliver. Right? And we've signed on some pretty big people. Here's Cult of Dracula right here.
Oh, fantastic.
That's a cover. We've signed on people like we've Symphonic Verses, like Zin Symphonic Verses. And check this out. Check the art out in that.
Oh wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
Paint it.
So this is another title that's coming up from Second Sight Publishing. We've signed Alfred Page, his chess series, Pinpoint. A Blowtorch one shot. We've signed Marvin Wynn and his The Edge comics. We've got, like I said, we've got Zin. We've got Lady Freedom coming out. We just signed a contract with Comic Book Shopping Network.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about some of the indie channels when it's coming to the.
Yeah, we've just signed an exclusive with the Comic Book Shopping Network last week, and we just sold out all of our exclusive variant covers. Like we had exclusives for Pinpoint, Chess, The Edge, Blowtorch, a Chris Callahan cover for Lady Freedom, Chris Callahan cover for Cult of Dracula, and we had there's a foolish phone, right? And
No worries.
and like the books of Lyaxia and all that stuff. If you go to Second Sight Publishing LLC's webpage, you can go on and see all the exclusive covers, or just go on their Facebook site and you can see that I'm continuously posting. Well, we sold out all of the exclusive covers.
No, that is amazing. Very
amazing.
My last interview was with Mike Ruth, who does a lot of those alternate covers.
Yeah. Mike's a pretty cool guy. I met him a couple years ago in Moncton at ECCE.
Yeah, the East Coast Comic Expo. Yeah, I'm usually there as well. I sell art at those things too, so I usually have a booth set up too.
Are you an artist?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did some indie comics years ago, and I've just got busy with life and haven't got around to doing it again. I was writing and illustrating them, and then now I kind of do art prints and stuff at the moment. But I would like to get back into the comic world. I just haven't really had the chance to put pen to paper and actually do something yet. So,
well, I'll tell you, Second Sight, we're always looking for stuff.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah. We're always looking for submissions. You go to the site, you hit the submissions tab. We're always looking for new creators, new creations. And Second Sight, it's a company on the move. Like, you check them out.
Absolutely.
Like I said, pre-sold 10,000 copies, and we're not even we don't even have Diamond as a distributor.
That is amazing.
Because Diamond, all the COVID stuff, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's all the problems with Diamond right now. So, we managed to sell 10,000 copies Cult of Dracula, pre-sold 10,000 copies of Cult of Dracula without Diamond.
Where do you guys market through? Just those sites?
Corner Box.
Okay.
Yeah, Corner Box, and Rich Davis himself is a master marketer.
I will say, my God, with numbers like that, he would have to be, for sure.
Yeah, he runs a comic book store in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Wow.
And
so he must have an in with other stores throughout the state.
Yeah, he does. Plus, he's he's a very persuasive guy, very nice guy.
Yeah.
And very talented guy. Like, I've listened to a couple of podcasts he's been on. Do you know Brian Finley?
No, name sounds familiar though.
Does the Drawn to It podcast?
Oh, I've heard of it, but I haven't listened.
Yeah. Rich just did that one last week, eh?
So, oh wow.
Yeah, you should get him on. I'll hook you guys up.
Please do. Yeah, there's a certain hustle needed when you're an indie creator. I definitely noticed it in you, just in contacting me about doing this and mentioning about the pressers and all the other things you guys do, and even just checking out some of the comics you have and the product, the websites and the various avenues you got. So kudos to you, man, for being the hustler you are, because that's how you do it. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of disappointment, a lot of rubber to the road to get to where you are. So
I love what I'm doing, right? Yeah. And like I've told, I did, I also write a column for, not a column, but I'm a reporter for First Comic News, eh?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've got about 60 articles that I've written for them. And so I was part of their San Diego Comic-Con at home this year. And one of the things that we did for San Diego Comic-Con was about how to get press as an indie comic creator. And one of the things that I said was, you got to be passionate about what you're doing. You got to show the passion, right? And you always have to, credit your team. You know what I mean? And you go into a store and tell somebody about your comic book. If you don't have passion when you're telling them about it, they're not going to be interested in it.
No,
right?
Not at all.
You got to sell yourself. You got to sell the comic, right? So I'm very passionate about Second Sight Publishing. Like to go from, this is a company that just started up in April or May of this year, sold 10,000 copies for indie comics.
Yeah,
I can't think of any other indie comic company that's been able to sell that many pre-sales, right?
No, that is phenomenal numbers.
And that's just Cult of Dracula. That doesn't include all the sales we've made for Lady Freedom, all the sales we've made for Books of Lyaxia, and then our next run that comes out in November, the Chess and Pinpoint and Blowtorch, and like I showed you, Zin Zin stuff. This is amazing stuff.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy too, eh?
Oh wow,
You
yeah,
know?
no, I'd be
Yeah.
very happy to talk to anybody. It's one thing when I started this was kind of I really enjoy WTF, Mark Maron's podcast, and the sort of interviews he does with the creators. So when I added this as sort of an idea as to become part of the Graphic Histories podcast, I thought to talk to comic creators and just people involved in the comic industry, not necessarily just creators, but like people that work at stores, anything to do with comics, and just sort of celebrate the industry that I love so much. I kind of want to do that. So it's a real pleasure to talk to someone as well. And just wanted to thank you a lot, Peter, for being on this episode. And anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I kind of touched all the bases here.
I think you hit most of it.
You know, like I mentioned.
Actually, one thing I can ask you is it Breau? Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, Breau. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure because I said that in the intro for the last podcast, and I was like, I really hope that's correct.
It's a good French name.
Yeah, well, my name's Andre Julien Mayette, so I'm
even better.
I'm very familiar with French names. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to shout out to like Adam Fields.
Yeah.
My artist buddy that helped me with the 16-page Constantine's Bane for Indie Wars. That's going to be available probably in December. Like the Kickstarter, like I said, we raised Ben Dunn of Warrior Nun and Antarctic Press and Ninja High School fame. You know, it's Kickstarter, very successful, raised about well over $8,000 American. So, you know, probably about 11,000 Canadian. And I just want to shout out to Adam, fantastic artist, you know, and shout out to the team at Second Sight, you know, Bradley Golden, you know, the CEO and president of Second Sight. You got Marcus Roberts. These guys, you should interview these guys. You should interview Bradley. Bradley's a very interesting guy.
No, absolutely. I would be excited.
He started his own comic book company. You know what I mean? And this is the company, like I said, sold 10,000, you know, pre-sold 10,000 copies called the Dracula. And Bradley's a guy who loves indie creators. And I wouldn't have anything indie-wise, like professionally, if it wasn't for Bradley. Because Bradley's the one that got me into writing professional comics, like writing for Caliber Comics, writing for Antarctic Press, writing for Second Sight. Publishing. It's all because of Bradley. And then Marcus Roberts. Now Bradley's he just got nominated for a Glyph Award this year. Marcus Roberts is our publisher. He's nominated twice for Glyph Awards.
Wow.
So he was nominated last year for a Glyph Award and then this year for a Glyph Award. So Marcus is a really good writer.
Yeah,
you know,
wow,
he's one of those hidden talent guys that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and he's, you know, he's got stuff in Mississippi Zombie too. And then you got, like I said, you got Rich Davis, who with the whole Cult of Dracula. You got Spike Gerald with his Lady Freedom. He's our art director and he's a editor in chief. You got Rich Davis, who's our he's our retail specialist. And you got myself, who's the social media guy, which is, you know, whatever that is. You know? Well,
and writer. So
writer.
Yeah,
because I am going to be doing a Ghost miniseries too with Adam Fields for Second Sight Publishing. That won't be out till next year either. The Ghost miniseries won't be out. I've got the These Damn Kids. This is going to be coming out. Hopefully, because of COVID, things have kind of got a little pushed back. The artist for These Damn Kids is Helmut Racco, and he lives in the Philippines. And like it's his art that's on like the thing that's got my picture. And then you got the three girls up in the corner, and then you got the ghost underneath. Well, Adam Fields drew the ghost. The picture with the three girls, the black, the grayscale one, that's Helmut Racco.
Oh, wow.
His art is fantastic. But because COVID really ravished the Philippines, where he lives, everything got put on hold, right? You know, so we're looking at These Damn Kids coming out, you know, late fall, early winter.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that coming out, and I know I'm probably forgetting something, right? Because I got quite a bit of stuff on the go, but I'm really, really glad to talk to you.
Oh yeah, it was a real pleasure, Peter. I was really interested to speak with you, and this has been education for me about the avenues for the independent comic world and some of the things that are out there, because there's a lot out there, so it's amazing.
Yeah, I'll hook you up with Bradley and with Richard and all them.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'd love to talk to them.
There's some great guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and it was great talking to you.
And thank you, from a Maritimer to a Maritimer.
Fantastic.
Okay, see you later, man. Thanks a lot.
No, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, that was my interview with Peter Breau. Hope you enjoyed it. I learned a lot about indie comics, a lot about sort of the avenues for publishing out there that I didn't know were there, and a lot of interesting names that could potentially be future guests on the Graphic Histories podcast. And I know Peter's since contacted me and told me several of them would be interested in being on future episodes, so I think it's almost a certainty now that they will be on here eventually. So I just want to thank everyone again for continuing to tune into this. I know, you have a lot of podcasting choices out there, and I'm very happy that you've chosen mine. And I love to hear from you. Please, reach out. Let me know if you have any suggestions, comments, anything you want to read. I will read viewer letters. If you want to send me one, I'll happily read one. And I'd love to engage with my audience, assuming you are out there. So please get in touch. Next week, I'm not quite sure who the subject will be yet. I've been kicking around a few options. It's almost a certainty it's going to be someone from the new James Gunn Suicide Squad film. However, which person exactly, I'm not sure. So you're going to have to keep an eye on social media and find out. But until next time, my name is Andre. It's been a real pleasure, and have an amazing week.